All right. We are on chapter 6 of Rocket Boys, Mr. Baikovsky. Ox 1 through 4. So this is about, this is just like a month later. Okay, we haven't jumped that far ahead in time. Basically in this chapter, as a group of friends, they've kind of, started, they want to build rockets. They have no idea how, so they go get Quentin to join their group. So now this is like the 5 of them and Sonny that are part of it. And now Sonny kind of realizes, okay, we're actually going to have to be a little more official here and figure out what the heck's going on. And so they start going to the library and looking for books about rockets, and Quentin is looking through his science textbooks, and they're having a really hard time finding any information, but Quentin at least knows enough about physics to try and start. And they form their official rocket club. They call it the BCMA, the Big Creek Missile Agency. And I think part of that is that Sonny, he's starting to kind of develop, I guess, leadership and be the leader of the group. And he knows, okay, if I say this is an official thing and give everybody a job, it's more likely to stay together rather than just, if we're just a group of friends goofing off, we won't get anything done.
Yep.
And kind of one of the first things that happens is in school, the principal, I think, kind of overhears that they're starting this rocket club, and he's really opposed to it. He's he calls it a bomb club. He's like, I'm not going to let students start a bomb club in this school. And so the principal throughout the book's kind of opposed to what they're doing. And but somebody that steps up to kind of defend them is their science teacher, Miss Riley. And it just goes to show that science teachers really are the best in what they do. No, but Miss Riley is much more supportive, and she tells them she'll try and find some books for them on rockets and stuff. And she wants them to join the science fair, which isn't just a school science fair that we usually think of when you think of science fairs. It's kind of you go compete against other schools, and it's a
there's layers.
Thing,
so it's there's a district and then a county, but then there's a state science fair, which is a big deal.
And she's oh, you should do a science project and go support the school. And Sonny does not want to do it. He's kind of embarrassed. He's if we do this thing, it's going to be in the paper because everybody will know we're representing the school, and
and
you
so
really want
far,
everybody to see us lose.
And so far they haven't had any success yet.
The only one they had is the first one that blew up the fence. They haven't made any other rockets yet. One thing I like is Sonny's kind of he's telling Quentin why would we do the science fair?
He literally tells Quentin, we just embarrass ourselves.
Yeah, we just embarrass ourselves. And Quentin's kind of taken aback. He says it's not like you to be a pessimist, Quentin said coldly. I'm totally dumbfounded by your attitude. Dismayed too. When I didn't say anything, he added, astonished, chagrined, and saddened. And so Quentin is him being Quentin, but also I like he's calling out Sonny, and he's kind of in a way being the toughest one of the group and being you're seriously just gonna be you're gonna give up that easily. And one thing we'll see throughout the book is that Quentin is in some ways kind of the most committed to this project. Mm-hmm. And a big reason is we said he kind of comes from the boonies. He's really poor. In fact, in this chapter, Sonny's mom starts packing extra lunches, extra sandwiches, for Sonny and his lunch. But Sonny knows that it's really just to give to Quentin, you know?
And so they know he's poor. They find out the extent of it later.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things that Sonny's not realizing at this moment is that the state science fair, if you win that, you get a scholarship. And while Sonny has his dad to potentially send him to college, Quentin has nobody to send him to college.
And Quentin, if we said Sonny doesn't fit in Coalwood, Quentin does not fit in anywhere in Coalwood. Yeah. And so he knows he has to get out. Yes. And school and being intelligent, and he we said he really acts super smart,
yes.
But he kind of knows that that's his only chance to get out and make it into the world. And so he probably is really committed to that, and so he's kind of I can't believe you're going to give up this easily. If this really mattered to you, you wouldn't be such a wimp about it. All right. Dorothy's holding hands with a basketball player and making Sonny jealous. they start testing out different fuel mixtures, and that kind of becomes a big theme throughout the book, which if you're looking for science connection, that goes great into atoms and molecules or chemical reactions. And they're trying to figure out what's going to be the best fuel mixture.
And that leads to OC2. They actually try a second rocket.
Yeah. Oh, and so to build their rocket, Sonny's like, well, I don't know where to start. They end up getting one of the employees of the mine to help. His
That's
name is.
actually after OC2.
Is it?
It is.
How do they? Oh, they make the first two themselves.
So they shoot off. They make the first one themselves. They launch OC2, and it does like nothing except like jerk around and like, and it almost hurts them. Like they almost get hit by OC2.
And they call them Auk because Auk was like this giant ancient bird, I think, that was like didn't fly, kind of like a dodo.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
And so he names it Auk.
So all the series.
And Auk's like an extinct bird that never flew. It was like this big bird that couldn't fly.
Yeah.
And so he names all their rockets are called Auks to like, because he knew they might not fly. And it's kind of cool. He starts in this chapter getting into this idea, and he kind of focuses on it a little bit, that like you're supposed to learn from your failures. Because before his attitude was like, well, that was a huge failure. What was the point? Yeah. And he kind of starts realizing, I think from talking to Quentin, that that's not how science works. Science works by failing and testing to see why it failed, and then trying it again and fixing things.
So OC2, they go and they look at it and they realize that the fuel just busted through the opposite end of the rocket, and they realized it needed to be soldered. Yeah. And so that's when they go, and like the namesake of the chapter is Mr. Bykovsky. They go to the company's welder. I assume.
He like works in a there's basically like a machine shop. Where, I mean, the mine has like all sorts of machines that need to be fixed or created or, you know, worked on. And so these would be guys that probably mostly did metal work, like cutting metal, shaping metal, welding, stuff like that. So he goes to Mr. Bykovsky.
Oh, I lied. It was OC1 that did that.
Okay.
So they did OC1. It failed horribly. They go to Mr. Bykovsky. Sorry. Just wanted to specify.
And one thing I love here is with let me introduce Mr. Bykovsky. So Mr. Bykovsky is an immigrant, and I don't know if it says from where, but probably from like Eastern Europe, like Poland or Russia or something, or Hungary, I don't know. And he is ends up being kind of like one of the biggest people in the town that helps the boys. What I really love is he asks Sonny, he's like, well, first of all, he's like, does your dad know that you're coming to ask me for help? And Sonny's like, does he lie or does he tell him the truth?
I think he just like acts really awkward.
No, he tells him the truth. He
okay.
says he's against my building rockets, but I need your help. Yeah. And so Mr. Bykovsky is taking a huge risk by helping Sonny because he's basically like going directly against his boss. But I really like because when Sonny shows up and is like, can you help? He's like, well, do you know how to solder metal? And Sonny's like, doesn't know what that means. So he's like, oh, no. And he's like, well, I'll teach you. And so what's cool I like is that he's like helping them a lot, but he's also trying to like teach them.
And he also uses his knowledge. At first they were building the rocket out of aluminum, and he tells them like steel's going to be better. Like you make the steel thinner, stronger. Anyway. Yeah,
he like has a bunch of knowledge that ends up helping them. That has nothing to do with rockets.
No.
But he knows about metal, and he knows about welding, and he knows
like
about
blue collar guy.
You know, and so it's really cool seeing how his knowledge is like the starting point for what they do. Okay, and then what he'll do is he'll have Sonny like practice, and then
he'll fix it.
He'll like basically, I think, redo it.
Yeah.
He'll be like, well, I'll finish this up and then drop it off, and then he'll basically just like does it.
Perfect.
And one thing that's cool is like Mr. Bykovsky, you can tell like really takes pride in his work, and he's really, and this later on, like, well, we'll get to that later on, but like the people that help them they're like into it. It's cool to see like some of the people in the town.
This town kind of comes together.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. Okay. And what he does is like basically at night, because I don't think he does it like when he's not on the clock, so he's using his own time to do it. But he'll basically, I think, like kind of make it in secret with leftover scraps. Yeah. And then he like sets it out in like a secret spot, like a secret stash, and Sonny comes and like picks it up. You know what I mean? So it's all kind of on the DL. Okay, so with those improvements, they keep launching. Number 2, I think.
Number 2 goes in the air a little bit, and then like goes straight into a forest and hits a tree, and like the front of it cracks off.
Yeah.
But it flies a little bit, so they're super excited about that.
And then they're gonna stop. They're like, okay, we shouldn't launch anymore until we fix this next one. Like basically, it would just be there's no point launching the exact same rocket again because it's just gonna fail. But is it who is
Roy
it?
Lee.
Roy
The
Lee's
ladies'
like,
man.
we're lighting this
Like, we
thing.
came up here to
I'm not
fly
wasting
rockets."
my time. So he lights it off without anybody being ready, and the thing shoots off. So first of all, it flies,
It
and
goes
they're like,
high into the sky.
so it's kind of like a huge success.
the first time. Like they weren't expecting it to go high like that.
Yeah, I think they thought even if it would work, it wouldn't fly that far.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this one flew so far was like, whoa,
But they realize as they look at the arc of it,
where it's going.
it's going to the mine.
And so it ends up landing like in the inside of the, not like in the mine, like
No.
underground, but like in the mine
Near like the offices.
area. Yeah.
Where his dad works.
Yep. And so his dad sees it. I'm trying to think if they like run over there.
They run over there. His dad's already out on the porch. It's like sitting in the middle of like this, outside of his office essentially. His dad is
He
like,
said he was so mad he was
Yes.
huffing and puffing. I was
Yes.
afraid he was about to go off into another one of his coughing fits. I told you stop this, didn't I? He barked. You could have killed somebody with that thing. I was relieved to hear our rocket hadn't hit anybody. And two things. First of all, he's afraid his dad's going to hit him, which he
Yeah.
says has only happened once in his life. And I won't tell you about that story, but if you want to go read the end of chapter 6, great little story about
It's a
the one
good
time he
story.
got spanked by his dad.
yep,
And it's kind of funny and sad and poignant.
yes.
But here's the biggest thing he's afraid of. His dad picks up the rocket and says, "This looks like company property to me. Where did you get it?" And his biggest fear isn't necessarily for himself. It's Mr. Bykowski, and he's afraid that he just, like Mr. Bykowski, this guy who took a chance to help him, he might have just got him in huge trouble. So they start building rockets, and they're starting to see.
And he calls Sonny a thief.
Yeah.
And whoever helped Sonny in the mine
Is a thief.
as well. So he knows he's in trouble. And that's the end of the chapter. Actually, a really big chapter in terms of building rockets.
Yeah.